welcome back to the Mompreneur Mentor YouTube channel. Thank you all for following along the journey and subscribing. If you're new, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now today, I am very excited to have Lonnie Brown with me. She is the first mompreneur of our new Mompreneur Interviewer series, which will be mompreneurs interviewing to inspire, uplift, and educate you, sharing their journey. Lonnie, thank you so much for being on the show. I can't thank you enough.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
So why don't you tell our viewers about your business and what you do?
Sure. So my business is called Entirely Eco, and it is an online curated shop of eco-friendly, non-toxic, certified organic home decor products. So I have a store side of my business, and then I have an educational side of my business where I'm really building a community and putting out a lot of educational content. And it's really around reducing toxic exposure at home. And I really start with new moms or pregnant women, and we start in the nursery. And I help moms create non-toxic nurseries. And then once we've done that, we move on to the rest of the home. So it's my mission and passion, and I love it.
That sounds amazing, and I think it's really, really important because nobody realizes how toxic, like when I was growing up, they didn't know how toxic everything was, and now that we know, we can do better. You know, knowledge is empowering. So how did you get the idea for your business?
So it started when I was pregnant with my first daughter. I'm also pregnant right now. I'm 37 weeks. So any day now, this baby will come. But about 3.5 years ago, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I started to do what pregnant women do, is start to build a baby registry. And I had lived a fairly healthy and organic lifestyle prior. So I was really conscious about the foods that I was eating and making sure that I was, trying to buy and purchase and consume organic foods, pesticide-free, non-GMO, all that good stuff. And I also was very conscious about skincare and beauty products because those can be loaded with toxins as well. And so really that was my focus. And once I got pregnant with my daughter, I started to research furniture like baby cribs and mattresses and baby clothing and blankets and all of these other things. And I was completely shocked after my research of finding out how toxic these items are. And you don't think about it because you're a little bit more conscious about what you're actually ingesting and like rubbing onto your skin, but you don't really think about like what's in your mattress and what's in your pillows. Like that never had crossed my mind. And so I was building my baby registry, doing this research, and just completely shocked at like the toxins and pollutants in baby products that are labeled safe, right? Safe for your baby, and yet loaded with chemicals like petrochemicals that off gas into the air and everything. So that's how I kind of got started on this journey. And I became really frustrated with not having just like one trusted resource that I could go to. All the information is so scattered. There's lots of blogs and things, but you don't know who to trust. You definitely can't trust manufacturers because everything is labeled natural, safe, non-toxic, and those aren't regulated terms. So I was just so frustrated. And so once I went through this process on my own, I did hundreds of research. I talked to all these different specialists. I figured out what was truly safe. I said, there has to be a better way. Like mamas, like especially pregnant mamas who are maybe working full time, they have a business or even a corporate job, like they don't have time to do hundreds of hours of research, but they want a safe environment for their babies. And so I'm like, there just has to be a better way. And so I created the company I wish existed when I was pregnant. And so that's what gave me the idea.
I love that, and especially my sister's hoping to start having babies soon. So I'll have to tell her about your company. What was the name of the company? Did I miss it?
Entirely Eco.
Entirely Eco. I thought it was Eco something. I was like, Entirely Eco. I love that. And how was you inspired to get that name? Because it's very catchy. It's pretty easy to remember. It has the both E's. Is that environmentally friendly? What does that name like mean?
Yeah, eco is short for eco-friendly, and really what that is what eco-friendly is essentially safe for the environment and safe for you. So
Oh,
it's just a shortened version of eco-friendly, but entirely eco. Yep.
entirely eco.
I
I
wanted
love
it to be
that.
short and catchy and memorable.
Yes, we will put that link in the description box below, you guys. I'm already excited. I already feel enlightened. I feel like you've already taught me more than I didn't know because I wasn't even aware about the furniture thing. So, did the e-commerce side come first or did the community building come first? Was it the chicken or the egg situation? I'd love to know for moms
Yes.
out there. Because I know some that they build a community and then it grows into a business, or they build a business and then comes the community. So how did it go with entirely eco?
So for me, it went the latter. So I got the idea for the business and I knew that I wanted, because what I wanted was a place that whatever this store was selling, like was vetted and and truly safe. So I knew that I wanted to create like a curated store where I have like personally vetted all of these brands, all of these products. I've gone through all of their manufacturing documentation. I've looked at the ingredients and the materials in their products. So I'm almost like certifying that this is, that these are safe, truly safe. And so I wanted to build a shop that featured lots of these brands, because most of these brands are smaller brands. Some of them are large brands at this point, but some of them are smaller brands. And so I really wanted to have a place where I not only sold my own products that I'm developing, but I also sold other brands' products, so that anyone that shops in my store would know that everything is safe. They don't have to worry about doing their own extra research. I've done that for them. And I have like a approval process of like how I vet my manufacturers and brands that I sell. So I really started there because I just wanted a quick place for mamas to be able to come and just know that anything here that you buy is going to be safe. And then I thought, well, while I was going through this process, I did so much research and so much learning that you want to be able to go to the store and buy something on your own, because I don't sell every single possible product in my store. So I still want people to be able to be informed and make great decisions when they're buying on other sites like Amazon or just even at their local stores. So that's where the educational and community side came in. It's like, I really want to educate these moms so that they know how to vet products, how to see through manufacturer greenwashing, like marketing tactics, how to read labels, how to truly know that you're buying something safe on your own. So that's where the educational side came in.
I love that. So is the education through a blog or social media channels and email lists?
It's a little bit of all. So we have a blog, and we mostly post around eco-friendly, non-toxic living, but then also interior design, because a lot of people, and I have this misconception too, is when you think of building a non-toxic or eco-friendly home, you think maybe ugly and boring and bland. You think that you have to sacrifice complete design style, and me having like that interior decorating background, I'm like, no, you could have the best of both worlds. Like, you don't have to trade one for the other. So there's inspiration around decor and decorating, but then also that non-toxic living tips too. So that's the blog. And then I have a Facebook group where I do weekly trainings in. It's completely free. And that's where it's like really the community part, where people are helping each other and they ask questions for the group and for me. I bring in experts to host master classes. So that's the other side of the educational part. And then of course I have my coaching business, where I actually get to work with people one-on-one or in group settings where they want to dive a little bit deeper and have me be more hands-on with them.
You sound like a very busy mompreneur, and pregnant at that. So if you're out there watching this, anyone can do it. You make time for what's important to you, and I can see that you are so passionate about this and so driven that, and you're doing all these different things. How do you manage on a day-to-day basis? Do you have an overseas team? Do you have VAs? Do you have in the USA team? Because obviously you're probably inundated with customer service and social media posting. It can't all be handled by just you, can it? Are you
No. No. I mean, I do a lot of it on my own, probably way too much at this point, but I do have a small team of people that help in various areas. I do have a VA that helps me just kind of manage the administrative side of the business. And then I have different people that help with other aspects. So I have an email team that kind of helps me with my emails and just the technology of emails, right? Because you don't want to be sending the wrong emails at the wrong time to the wrong people. So I have people to help with that side. I have people to help me with like Facebook ads and things like that, because that's just way over my head. I just am not, great at that stuff. So I really try to work in my genius zone where I thrive. And then I try to hire out the areas that I am, not as proficient in.
I love that you put it that way, because a lot of early mompreneurs, myself included, will be very overwhelmed and they don't understand how to outsource. And in the channel, and most of our subscribers out there were e-commerce and marketing, and there's so many hats that you have to wear, but also as a mompreneur, that's your number one priority, is being a mom, and that's your why usually. And so I talk about outsourcing and how healthy it is. And I think there's this kind of stigma behind it where moms are expected to be able to do it all. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, oh, don't talk about, I got help, or don't reach out for help. But it's so important, and your business will run smoother, and you'll be happier, healthier when you can outsource and build a team. And there's no shame in being like, I need help. I need to just focus on what I'm good at, and then just let everyone else do what they need to do. And I'm so happy you opened up about it, because sometimes I've heard even very prominent mompreneurs that are, A-list celebrities say, oh yeah, I just get it all done myself, when they have a housekeeper and then a chef and all these people, and they're like, oh yeah, I just do it all. And I'm like, that's toxic to put that out there on other moms and make them think you have to do it all. No, hire a team.
It is that it's tough to when people do that, because it makes other moms feel like they have to be like that too. And it's just unrealistic. And I have no shame in outsourcing. Like, I learned this really early on in business. When I started my first business, I wanted to do it all. And I'm that like type A perfectionist, type of person. And I'm like, well, no one could do it as great as I can do it. So I'm just going to do everything. And you quickly learn that that's just not sustainable, and your kids are watching you. You are a model for them. And if they see that you're trying to do everything and you're working yourself to death and your energy is not there, like, they feed off of that energy and they know it. So I always try to be my best self. And if that means outsourcing and delegating all of the stuff that drains me and that doesn't give me energy, and that frankly I'm not really great at anyway, then like, it's a win-win in that situation. I'm not doing the things I don't want to do that's draining me anyway. And then I have more time to do the things that I love in my work and have more time with my family. So it's just a win-win all around. So when I talk to moms, I'm just like, you have to do what you have to do. Like, some people are like, oh, but I have to have someone watch my child. Like, but that's part of being in business too. And it's not constantly 24/7, so I tend to try to outsource things that would free up time for me to be with my child more. So that's like cleaning and like groceries and all those things. I'm like, if you could just order those on the app and have it delivered to your front door, why not? I don't have to be walking around the grocery store myself for an hour and a half to feel like a great mom. Like, my kids are still going to have great food, even if Instacart's bringing it.
That's so funny you said that. I have an entire video on doing that, like outsourcing your household chores so you can focus on work or focus on the kids, because it doesn't pay and it's not fun, and it's like, and I even do the whole Instacart thing myself.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't make you a worse mom either. Like, you're not a bad mom because you don't go grocery shopping. Like, I'm spending that hour and a half with my child instead.
Yes, we are on the same wavelength right now. I'm so excited about that. So you mentioned a previous business. Is that previous to Entirely Eco?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so when did you become an entrepreneur, and did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? What was the previous business?
I did. So my dad was an attorney, and he had his own practice. And so early on, I got that experience as a child, seeing my dad in his own business and kind of set his schedule, work when he wants, have flexibility. And so as a child, that's just inspiring. You're like, I want that, you know? And my mom, on the other hand, worked like a government type of job. So it was really strict hours, like little time off. It was not flexible at all. And so I got to see those two experiences firsthand with my parents. And so I always knew that I wanted to gravitate more towards my dad and being a business owner, so that I, you know, can do what I love, but then also have flexibility. So when I went to college, I knew that, like, I didn't want to just get a normal corporate job. I wanted to, you know, to somehow get some experience so that I could then start my own business. So out of college, I started working for another small business that was owned by two women. And I just got some experience with them, saw how they ran the business. And then a few years after that, I started my first business, and it was completely different to what I'm doing now. It was actually in HR consulting. So I worked with businesses, smaller companies that were looking to hire. So this is where the outsourcing part came in place for me, because I learned how to quickly hire and how to outsource. And I was helping companies do that. So that was my first business, and I did that for 12 years.
Wow. That's amazing. And that's a totally different shift, but I can see organically how that is so valuable. And that's why I put so many videos on the channel, you guys, about outsourcing, because if you can't successfully outsource, you cannot successfully scale your business. Okay, so all you mompreneurs out there, take notes from Miss Lonnie Brown. She's obviously an expert. You've been an entrepreneur for so long. And I love that you said you went to college, because there's another stigma with entrepreneurs saying, don't go to college, but I got my bachelor's as well, and it has been invaluable for my entrepreneurial journey because of what I learned in marketing and e-commerce. So what was your educational background? Did that pull in and help you with your entrepreneur journey as well?
It did. I mean, I got a bachelor's and I got it in business administration. So it was, you know, I learned everything about business, economics, accounting, just everything, marketing. So it was a really nice, well-rounded education. But even just the connections that I made with, like, some of the other students. I mean, I still keep in touch with some of, you know, the people that I was in school with in college, and some of them have even come around and have helped me in other ways with my business. So it's just been, you know, great experience. If you can, you know, I always recommend it for people to go through college, because not only you're getting the education, but you're also learning different life skills, right? It's like you're out on your own, you're learning different life skills and how to operate on your own. And it's just, for me, it was a really valuable experience. So I would definitely do it again. I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, my education was a waste of time and money. Like, I actually got a lot of value out of it. So I think it just depends on what you major in, and of course, maybe where you go. All of that contributes to your experience.
I certainly agree with you, Lonnie, and I have to say that it is never too late. So mompreneurs out there, I know right now there's a pandemic going on, and everyone is saying, why should I pay to go to college when I'm paying for Zoom classes? I could learn it on YouTube. It's the networking. Your network is your net worth. We also have videos on that on the channel. And the experience, just like to reiterate what you said, so much knowledge. You could be a mompreneur coach too. So much knowledge. Yeah, and I definitely think my college experience is very valuable. And business administration, they teach you very differently than learning on your own, and it gives you a solid foundation for entrepreneurship. So if you're out there and you're watching and you've been thinking about education for entrepreneurship, don't just completely axe it because Gary Vee always says, you know, through college and Mark Zuckerberg dropped out.
Yeah.
It has a lot of value. What do you look for in your employees in outsourcing then, since you have such a great HR experience? Can you give us some nuggets there? Because that is not my strongest strength, and I would love to learn more about what to look for.
Yes, sure. So I always start with my need. So I get really clear on what it is I need this person to do and what does success look like in this role, or even if it's just a contractor that you're hiring or a full-time employee, but like, what does success look like in the role? I think so many people just jump to start wanting to like post a job and start interviewing people, and they actually don't get that clarity up front of what does good look like and what does success look like in the role. So I always try to start there, is like, okay, if in a perfect world, in a year from now, I'm like, this person was like game changing for me in this particular area, why was that? And so get really clear on that. And then I use that information when I am doing job postings. And so I make sure to incorporate what success looks like in a role, the types of experience that, you know, would be well suited for this position, and skills and just background essentially. And then when I interview people, I try not to ask the standard interview questions, because these days people do so much interviewing. They've just become really good at interviewing. And as an interviewer, you're not really getting those golden nuggets and that deep information, because they've rehearsed these answers over and over. So I like to do behavioral style interviewing questions, which are different than, so a typical interview question would be like, tell me why you think you're a great fit for this role. What do you think your strengths are? What improvement areas do you think you have? Right? These are all like typical interview types of questions. What are you looking for in ideally in a role, right? Typical. And they're going to have your typical, canned answer. So for me, instead, I'll say, tell me what you're most proud of in your career, and why, and like share the story of like, that proudest moment that you have, right? Or I'll say, tell me about a time that you failed at a project. And I say like, what was the project? What were you trying to accomplish? Why was it a failure? And what did you learn because of that? So these are like, they're story-based, right? Behavioral style type of questioning. And so you get so much more out of that answer than just like, why do you want this job? Why do you think you're a good fit? Tell me your strengths, right? You see how like, you can see how their mind thinks if you ask it like that way. You can see their thought process. You can see how they problem solve. You can see like, did they learn, from the experience? There's so much that could come out of just that one question. So I try to hire people that will complement my skill set. Especially like I do, I've taken all those like assessments like Myers-Briggs and the DISC assessment and all that. And you can find out where your gaps are as an owner or as a person. And then you can hire people on your team that can help support you in those gaps. So for me, I am like a very visionary person. I like to come up with ideas. But for me, the details and the nitty gritty of the execution, that's where I struggle. And I know that that's a weakness. So when I'm bringing on people on my team, I want to hire people that complement my own skill set. I don't want to hire a bunch of visionaries, because we're not going to get anything done, right? We're all going to be thinking about great ideas, and no one's going to be doing the like detailed work to actually execute on it. So really I like to hire complementary skill sets. So I hope those are some good little tips.
That was amazing. Those are a bunch of knowledge bombs. I hope you guys were all taking notes. Because I think that's the one thing a lot of people struggle with. And I love how you talked about complementary and knowing exactly what you need. So you don't hire someone, you're like, oh, maybe I didn't need this. And it made me think, so you went from HR to e-commerce. Now, did you learn an entirely new, did you build your website and go and do that? Or were you like, you know what, I don't want to learn how to do all this and just outsource it all? Or did you really dive into e-commerce and get into it there and self-teach yourself e-commerce?
I did self-teach myself e-commerce. I took a few programs and courses just to like learn a little bit more about it, but I built my own site. I used a theme and I customized it on my own. I had learned in college like basic HTML and CSS, so I wasn't completely foreign to like websites. But yeah, I built the website on my own, and I did a lot of the technical stuff on my own at first just to learn it. And then I like will outsource other areas of it now. But I like having, and this is probably the type A side of me, is I like knowing how to do something at least initially, and then I learn, oh, I actually really enjoy this, or nope, I don't really like this at all. This is draining my energy, so I'm now going to outsource it. But I do try to learn it first, just so that if something ever happened, I could go in and like not have to completely 100% rely on someone else to do something for me. So I like having that ability, because I've seen it with certain websites where it literally goes down and you have no idea what to do, and you're waiting for a team of people to help fix it, and you're just like, you feel like you're out of control, and I never want to be in that situation. So I learned it enough to where if something were to break, I could go in and fix it on my own. But it just, in terms of the day-to-day, I'll have other people do that once I've got the actual site up and running.
That is another point of great advice, you guys. I did the same thing in my business. I learned everything, and they say, you want to learn every job, from the janitor job to the CEO position, just to make sure you can do it all. And then what you're not passionate about, and you can outsource. So I completely agree with you. Does your business have any kind of greater mission or charity work it does? I was just wondering, I didn't do my due diligence, and I was wondering if there's some like a big mission, or if you're supporting any causes with your business.
So I don't have any like particular charity that I support on an ongoing basis. I actually am looking, into that a little more, because I do believe in those like mission-based businesses that give to nonprofit organizations to help the cause. But I am really passionate about helping all kinds of people and being really inclusive. So even people that might not be able to afford my coaching and my programs, I have scholarships that I give for people. I've even had other clients who have had a really great experience with me, and they're like, I want to donate. They're like, I want to, pay a little extra, and so that you can help people that, don't have access to this, to this type of education, and also these types of products. Because to be honest, like, non-toxic products tend to be a little bit more expensive than like just going to Walmart and buying a baby mattress. The quality is better and it's going to last longer, but it is going to be more expensive than just going to like a big box store. And so not everyone can afford the different products that I even sell in the store. So we do have that aspect where we help people through, our own giving back, and then even just clients that have donated to help other people as well. So that's really where my focus is currently, but I am looking to kind of partner with other organizations that have a mission to reduce toxins and pollutants in the world.
Well, that's amazing.
There's a lot. There's many that, have this mission.
Technically, you already are lowering the eco footprint and spreading awareness. So it's not even like you would need to donate to a charity that does that, because your business in itself does that. It lowers the carbon footprint. It's better for the planet. It's better for the people. So you're already kind of supporting that mission. But I love that you give out scholarships and you have people donate for those who can't afford an investment that's a little higher for that quality or the non-toxic stuff. And I think that just goes back to the issue we have in society, that the wage gap or income gap, whatever you want to call it, the people who are at the lower end of that are getting the toxic products, and it's like a gross cycle, right? So
it is.
And same with the food, etc., because they're being pushed on them because they're more affordable.
Yep. Yeah, it's like organic food is more expensive than non-organic food. It's just how it is. Not everybody can afford it. And, it's just, yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
So thank you for being a part of changing that in the world, because I think our society needs to change that. I have a few more questions for you. I hope I'm not taking too much of your valuable time.
No, this is great.
So do you do any work locally or nationally, or is it all remote and all online? Do you do anything in person with your coaching?
So yes, so originally I was doing a lot of in-person like workshops, and I would, because I target pregnant women or new moms that have recently had a baby. And so I would, do workshops at different birth centers and prenatal and postnatal classes and things like that, just to help make that in-person connection. That has obviously changed with the pandemic and COVID. No one's really doing in-person workshops anymore. So not so much that anymore. But I do definitely work with people locally, especially when it comes to like the interior decor and the interior design side of my business. But the majority of it is virtual and working with people really all over the world. Most of them are in North America, but we have clients that are in Europe, and in Europe is actually a little bit further along when it comes to eco-friendly and non-toxic lifestyle and living than even the US.
I love that. That was my next thing, is like, if our viewers are international, can they still connect with you, work with you, order from you? Are you shipping outside of the US?
A lot of the brands that I sell will ship out of the US. Most of my own like local shipping tends to be within the US. Although when it comes to my programs and coaching, like I said, I have clients all over who will invest in those programs, like all over the world. But many of the brands that I sell in my store all ship internationally for the most part.
Nice. That is wonderful. So you're not limited to who you can help and how you can help the planet. So you have a big blue ocean right there. And I think that you're in the right market, because as a collective, the planet has been making, as a people, we have been consciously making an effort to be eco-friendly, and we have a long way to go. But honestly, they do say that the pandemic has reversed a lot of damage.
It's true. It's very true. That is the one of the benefits of this pandemic is like the earth has gotten like a reset. It's just been like the water is clearer, the pollution in the air, even in places, I grew up in Southern California, like in, outside of LA, and it's just like smog everywhere. And like now it's like it's clear skies. Like it's just that like smog layer has like disappeared. So it's just fascinating, like what happens when people just tend to consume a little less and just be a little bit more thoughtful and not have a lot of excess waste. Like the environment is definitely getting a little reset.
Yes. And then, so it sounds like you are, I'm gonna have to edit that part out. It sounds like you're so, let me think it's like it. You're so passionate about the environment, and I want to know where that came from. Was it just from having babies, or was having kids, or was it like an environmental awareness?
It was mostly from having kids. Like when you have a baby, you start to think of like, how is the world going to be when they're my age? And what are we doing now that's going to really impact them in the future and their kids, right? So you really start to think, once you have children, you really start to think about your legacy and what type of world and environment you're creating for them. So I just became way more conscious and way more aware once I had my child. It's just like things that you don't even think about. And I know most people, when they think of like the earth and preserving it, this is like, they think hundreds of years, right? And they're like, oh, like if I use this plastic thing right now and it's going to go in a landfill, like, like you're not directly impacted right now, but it's like 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, like it's going to be detrimental. And so when you have children, you start to think a little bit more long-term and not just be so selfish and think about you in this exact moment, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And now I'm curious a little bit about your support system. And so I know there's mompreneurs out there. You've got this great mission, this great passion, inspired by your kids, this beautiful idea, this strong foundation in your whole background, this blooming business. What was your support system like in your immediate family, with the husband, and how did they all, your kids, how did they support you? Are they super supportive, or was there like mom guilt getting started? Or?
No, they're all super supportive. And they just know, I mean, most of them know my personality and know that I'm very passionate, and I'm also very ambitious and driven, especially when it comes to career. So I think that they've just been completely supportive. My husband does work full time out of the house, although he was working from home for 3 months, which was really nice having him here during COVID. But he works a full-time job, like 12-hour days. But I work from home, so I can be here with the kids, and they're really respectful of my business. Like my daughter, she's 3, and she's like, okay, mommy's gonna work, and then mommy, when you take your snack, when it's time for your snack, then we can play. And I'll take a little snack break, eat lunch, and be able to spend time with her. So she understands it. So it's really nice to have a family that is so supportive. And I know not everyone has that. Like some people just don't get entrepreneurship and they don't understand it, but my family has just been so supportive, and it's been really nice.
I love that you said you had a schedule there, and she knows that she's still going to get her time. I know a lot of mompreneurs had reached out to me, said, I don't know when to turn it off, or I'll stay up all night working, so I'm with my kids all day. What I loved about being a mompreneur now is I can be flexible and break it up into chunks. So work, kids, family, work, kids, family. And it sounds like you've got that handled. Do you have can you give us a little sneak on your schedule and how you kind of make that whole dynamic work, especially with your husband out of the house? Because I know mine's out of the house, so during the day it can be a little harder.
Yeah, I think really just setting up a routine, it has been really helpful. So we have like breakfast time in the morning, and then after breakfast time is when I usually go to start work, and then the kids will, play. They have workbooks that they do. I let them do, they have like iPad, like learning apps that they'll go through. They get a little bit of TV time, not a ton, but a little bit of TV time. And then we have lunch, and we're all together for lunch and checking in with each other. And then after lunch, I'm back at it at work, and they're, doing more of the same. Sometimes my mom comes too sometimes. And so she'll take them outside and like go for a walk, or just go to a park or something like that. Much more prior to COVID, but even now there's like little parks around the area. And if there's not a lot of people there, she'll take them out, in the afternoon. And I'll get my work done. And then I wrap up around 6, and it's, I'm cooking dinner. And then we get some more family time, and then I put the 3-year-old down for bed, and then I might do a little bit more of work, some catch up things planned for the next day. And so we just have this routine that works for us. Of course, there's going to be situations that come up that break the routine, and you just kind of go with the flow. But I think for me, having that routine is great for the kids, because they know when they get to see mommy, they know, when I'm going to be around, they know when I'm working. And sometimes they'll still run in, right? They'll still run in when I'm working, and they'll want something. And, you're flexible, right? That's the beauty of being a mompreneur, is something is like burning over there. You can just stop what you're doing and go address it, and then come back to it. So that part I enjoy, but I do find that having that routine kind of helps everyone manage better.
I have to agree. Same in my household. If we have a routine, it's very helpful. So can you share any trials and tribulations you had on your journey that, because it sounds like, everything's gone so well, but that's never the truth.
That's never the case. No, no, I think, especially when I was in the building phase of the business, like starting it all from scratch, there's just so much that you're juggling, and so much that you're also learning at the same time, that, there were times where I just felt like I was constantly working and not getting a lot of sleep. And even after I put my daughter to bed, I would literally work for 6 more hours after that sometimes. And it's just exhausting. And so it definitely took a toll on me, like just physically and mentally. I wasn't exercising and as much as I really wanted to, because I was just spending all of my free time like that where I wasn't with my family, like on my business. And so that was definitely difficult. And you go through these phases where you're like, oh, if I need to like not spend as much time today with my family because this like dire need is happening in my business, then you feel like you're a bad mom. You're like, oh, I literally spent like this little bit of time with my family and I was doing mostly work today. So you feel like a bad mom. And then you take time away from your business and you're like, no, it's family time. And then you feel like a bad business owner. So you're like, oh, I'm not going to be successful because I only worked 3 hours on my business today. And, because I had some family things come up that were more important. And so I just went with it. And so then you might feel like a good mom for a little bit, but now you feel like a bad business owner. So it's always that kind of tug of war of like, I'm not a great business owner. I'm not a great mom. I'm not a great business owner. I'm not a great mom. And that's just what we have to deal with. And so I have done a lot of mindset work on this. And I just know that like everything's happening the way it should be. And as long as I'm doing the best that I can and that I am making time for both my business and my family, like that's all I can do. And I just have to be okay with that and just know that this is a journey that I'm on and it's about the journey. Like that end result, if I accomplish something a little bit later than I planned, but it allowed me to spend more time with my family, I'm just going to have to be okay with that. So I think as mompreneurs, we just have to take that pressure off of ourselves.
Great answer. I love that. And it's true. It's one of the biggest struggles that mompreneurs have. So mindset is very, very important. And I went through the same thing, and it's very learning about yourself. In the very beginning of my business, I would stay up hours all night and not get enough sleep. But then you learn the balancing act. You learn it and things smooth out. So you're already a success. I'm wondering, what do you attribute most to that success? And then where do you want to go from here in your goals for more growth? I know sometimes for me, I'm like, wow, I already hit this level of success. Then how did I get here? And then how do I get even past that and hit more new goals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, I love kind of doing those vision exercises where you set your like 3-year, 5-year, 10-year goals. And, a lot of people, they want to grow like a massive business and they just want it to be like humongous. And I don't have that desire, because I'm like with that. And yes, people will attribute a much larger, bigger business with like a team of like hundreds of employees, like how successful. But to me, that just means probably more work and probably less time with my family. And so that's not a desire that I have. I definitely want to grow my business bigger than it is today, but I don't have this like crazy, like build $100 million company or anything like that. I would like to build a $10 million company, but you could build a $10 million company with like a team of 10 people, and like most of them can be contractors. Like you don't even have to have all full-time employees. So I've seen that done. And so for me, I want to get to a place where my business is sustainable, that I could work as little or as much in it as I want to, and it can still kind of thrive on its own. My main goals are really around the impact that I'm making in the world and around the community. So I would love across like all of our community channels, like when it comes to the Facebook group, our email list, our store customers, like I would love to impact 1 million people. Like that is like my vision. And I'm like, it's not even about the dollars. It's really just about the number of people that I want to have impacted within my community that I've built. And so that's the big goal of mine.
I love that. And that is a great goal to have. And I'm so thankful that you have been here on our show as our first mompreneur interviewer, Miss Lonnie Brown, you guys. what would be one piece of advice you would want to give to a mompreneur who's just starting out? It's my last question. I always ask it at the end of every interview because they're always something great. I always get something and I'm just like, wow, that was great.
Oh, it's a lot of pressure. No, I think for me, like the mantra that I live by is, well, two things really. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And so you can take time to give yourself grace. Like work does not have to equal hustle, right? You don't have to constantly feel like you're hustling in order to succeed. So I like to think of this journey of being a mompreneur as a marathon, and like, as long as you complete the finish line, even slow and steady, like wins the race, right? If you're going to sprint in a marathon, guess what? You're not making it to the finish line. So I treat business like that. And so when I have that as my mantra, it gives me permission to give myself that grace that's needed sometimes when it seems like everything is falling apart. You can take that little bit of grace for yourself and keep it moving. So I would say like, that's kind of my one piece of advice for people starting, or even if they've already started business. And to go along with that, I mentioned earlier that I am a perfectionist, and I learned early on, like it's about progress over perfection. And you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get it going. I've heard this, like some other mentors say this all the time. And that really resonates with me. Like when you especially for perfectionist type of people, like it's not about it being perfect. It's just about getting started and having progress.
Well, I can't thank you for sharing your years of knowledge, wealth, and experience in mompreneurship and entrepreneurship with us, the channel, the viewers. There's so much in this interview. This is the perfect way to kick off Mompreneur Interviewer. Where can our viewers find you if they're interested in your coaching services and they want to check out the shop? What links can we drop in the description box below?
Sure. So my main website is entirelyeco.com, spelled just the way it sounds. Eco, E-C-O. And then I do have a free guide for new moms. If you have anyone in your audience that are pregnant or are a new mom, I have a how to create a non-toxic nursery in 5 simple steps. It's a free guide. And that's just at entirelyeco.com/5 steps, the number 5 steps.
I love that. And then what about social media channels?
Really everywhere at Entirely Eco.
Oh, perfect. That is so easy. Okay, well, we will put those in the description box below for you guys. I have to tell my sister that she's going to start having kids. I'm very excited about the 5 steps, free 5 steps, and have her go check out Entirely Eco. And I highly encourage you guys to as well, because no one can be harmed by going eco-friendly. You're only benefiting yourself and everyone else. So why not? You know what I mean? It doesn't harm or hurt anything. It only benefits. And thank you for doing what you're doing. Your mission, helping the planet, helping our future children. It's a beautiful thing. And thank you again, Lonnie, for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you guys, we are signing off, and don't forget to like and subscribe, follow the channel for more mompreneur interviews from inspiring, uplifting, and educational, successful mompreneurs.